Hi everyone, my name is Ben, and today I'm going to be sharing about microgreens farming in low-tech setups. This video is aimed at any grassroots organization that is supporting communities that struggle with nutrition. In particular, we're thinking about communities that don't get served much fresh food day to day. Why microgreens farming? Microgreens are extremely nutrient dense. A 55-gram mix of 4 crops can satisfy one's vitamin A, C, E, and K requirements for the day. In addition to that, they grow very quickly. These radishes here will be ready to harvest between 6 to 8 days. And finally, they're quite climate resistant. Over the last few weeks, we've faced 2 heat waves with temperatures rising up to 43 degrees, and the crops have survived. In addition to that, this whole setup here requires less than 7 liters of water per day. Over the course of this video, I'm going to be sharing about 4 things. First, what you will need to have at your location to even consider this solution. Second, what preparation is required to get this underway. Third, how to sow your seeds. And finally, how to take care of your plants once they are growing. Now, microgreens are a resilient crop, but in addition to that, they're a crop that people enjoy eating. Small, but extremely nutrient dense. They're a crop that you can mix into food that people already get served, and we found that the community here really enjoys them. See you soon. Part 1. How do you know if your site is suitable for microgreens farming? What do you need? You need to ensure that you have space outdoors where you get adequate sunlight for your plants to grow. You also need to ensure that you have space indoors where it doesn't get hotter than 30 degrees Celsius to make sure that your plants germinate in ideal environments. You also need to make sure, finally, that you have a good water supply. You want to have about 10 liters of water a day at a minimum, and that's enough. Now on to part 2. What are the things that you need to set up to get this going? The first thing you need indoors is a shelf. You need a place where you are able to put your seeds once they're sown, which is dark and supports your trays. So this is the first shelf that we have. And then you need a shelf which is going to support the plants during their blackout phase. And so ideally this is a shelf which is going to be completely dark for 24 hours after the seeds have germinated. And now we move on to outdoors. First thing that you need to make sure is that you have some shading. This shade netting up here is about a 90% shading, and it ensures that your plants are not receiving total sunlight during the day. An alternative to the shade netting, especially if you're in a place that rains, is a total shaded roof. But you want to ensure that you put your plants at an angle where they receive sunlight in the morning and then shade during the hottest parts of the day. The next thing you want is a shelf for the outdoor space where the plants can sit as they're ready to be moved into the sun. As you can see, this shelf has been built entirely out of shipping pallets. It's taken about 2 shipping pallets worth of wood to build this shelf, and it takes about 2 days to build. In total, this shelf probably cost us less than 4 or 5 euros. And as with the indoor shelves, it's something that you can put together quickly. And now we're going to talk about the different things that you'll need to actually get planting. Of course, you want some trays, which is where you'll be planting your seeds on. You need some cocoa coir, which is going to be your substrate and your medium for the seeds. You'll need some tablespoons, measures, some measuring cups. Of course, you'll need seeds, and you'll need a spray bottle at the start for when you want to water the seeds. You also need white vinegar. This costs us about 160 euros from the supermarket, and it helps to drop the pH down to a suitable range. Ideally, you want some food-grade hydrogen peroxide as well. This is 35%, and you can dilute it down to 3%. This costs us about 5 euros. You want to have some bottles. With these bottles, what I do is I dilute my vinegar, and I use this bottle with the vinegar that I use for washing the trays, and I use this bottle for the vinegar solution which I use to water the plants with. This might take some trial and error, and there'll be some ratios in the description below if you want to use the same ratios that I use. To part 3. Right now we're going to be sowing some seeds, and today we'll be joined by Hamid.
Hello, I am Hamid. Salam alaikum. Ma Hamid هستم. همکار از اینا هستم. در فکری کار میکنیم.
So we're going to get started. I'm just going to attach this to my shirt. So the first thing we want to do is we want to disinfect our trays. We've got 2 trays today. We've got 1 tray with holes, which is going to be where we lay our seeds. And we've got another tray without holes, which is going to weigh the seeds down on top. The first thing we do is we take our vinegar solution, we pour it onto our cloth, and we give the trays a bit of a wipe. And this should just kill off bacteria or fungi that might be sitting on the tray. So it's quite a rough process. Just give it a quick wipe, and then we're just going to let it rest while we continue. The next thing we want to do is we want to mix up substrate. So Hamid will be helping me with this. If you can just grab the box, Hamid, and the box. So what we have here is a 10 by 10 inch tray. We're going to use 55 grams of cocoa coir, which we just put in sides, and we're going to start mixing that with some water. So we're going to go a little bit at a time, and you just want to make sure that your cocoa coir is completely wet and crumbled up and has absorbed the water, ensuring that you also don't have too much water. So that should just take about 20-30 seconds. Yeah. Whoop. Okay. And once that's done, we put the soil on the tray. We want the soil to be about 1 centimeter thick all across. Shakur. Yeah. For this, we're using cocoa coir, which is dehydrated coconut, and it's a good substrate to use because it has got very little nutritional content, but it absorbs water extremely well and holds water very well. So we've just laid that across the tray. Now we want to just kind of give that a pat down to make sure that it's nice and firm. Nice and compact, I'm sorry. And once that's done, we take our seeds and we sow the seeds. For today we're using radish seeds, and we're going to be using about 16 grams of seeds and lay that across the tray. So we'll just do that now. So as you're doing this, you just want to make sure the seeds are nice and even across the tray. You don't need to press them into it, just laying them on top is fine. And at the same time, if you see clumps of seeds which are too close together, you want to just like parse them apart, spread them out a little. Yep, perfect, Hamid.
Yeah. Yeah. Come.
Oh, hello there. This is Hamid's son. What's his name, sorry?
Abu Bakr.
Abu Bakr.
Yes.
Salam. And then the last thing you want to do is you want to give it a quick spray. What we're using is a solution that is 750 mils water, 1.5 tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide, just to be a bit of a disinfectant, and then a little bit of vinegar solution as well to bring the pH down. So you just give it a spray across. We put the other tray on top, and then we weigh it down with 1 to 2 kg. And this kind of tricks the seeds into thinking that they're underground and encourages them to grow and enables the roots to also dig into the soil. And that's all for this part. We've sown our seeds. This part we spoke about sowing the seeds. This is part 4. We're going to talk about how you take care of your plants once you've sown the seeds. So for the first few days, your seeds are going to be under some weight. This is going to last about 2 to 3 days. Every morning and night, what you want to do is you want to take the same hydrogen peroxide, water, and vinegar solution that you had. You want to lift the top tray up. Hamid, if you can just hold this for a second. And then you just want to give it a very quick spray, just like that. If you want, you can leave it open for a bit, maybe about 90 seconds preferably, to just let it air out and to discourage mold from growing. And then you put the tray back down and you leave it for the next 12 hours or however long. And then at night or in the morning, you come back to this and you repeat this. What you'll see eventually on about day 3 or day 4 is that the tray on top will just lift off ever so slightly. And when it starts to lift off, that means that your seeds have sprouted and they're actually pushing up against the top tray. At that point, what you want to do is you want to take the top tray off, and you have a choice. You can either take the weight out and then flip the tray upside down. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're creating a completely dark environment, which again tricks the seed into thinking it needs to grow taller to look for light. And so you're encouraging the seeds to grow taller. Or you can just put this underneath like this, and instead find a shelf that is completely dark and put it inside that cupboard and let it grow in the dark for about 24 hours. So 24 hours later, what you see is it will grow by about 4 to 5 centimeters. So in fact, I think this is a tray that just came out last night. You'll see that your plant has grown by about 4 to 5 centimeters, and that means that it's ready to be brought out into the sun. At this stage, you start to take care of it a bit differently. You want the top tray now to be on the bottom, and you don't want to water it from the top anymore. You want to ensure that you're watering it from the bottom. This way you conserve water, and you also ensure that the top doesn't get too moist and encourage mold growth. Instead, you encourage the roots to grow down, and that also makes the plant healthier. So what we'll do now is we'll measure out 400 milliliters of water, which is about right for the size of this tray, which is 20 by 10 inches. Fakat, Jeff. Yeah, this enough. We want to have a little bit of vinegar solution mixed in, about a quarter of a tablespoon. And this is just to, again, bring the acidity down to about 5.5 to 6, which is ideal for what the plants want. And with this, you just have to do a bit of trial and error to get the ratios right. You want to pour the water inside. How much would you like to just add? Just pour this inside. And once it's done, you put the tray on top, and that's your watering done. You do that twice a day, once preferably in the morning and once after sunset. You leave it outside in the sun all day. If it gets too hot, you might want to give it a quick spray just on top, just like that, to bring the temperature down by a little bit. But otherwise, that's all you do. And if you have just watered the plants and you're on a table which is maybe at an angle, after about 20 seconds, you can just flip it around, and then that'll make sure that the water seeps in both directions. And that's all. That's how you take care of your trays. If you give it, this has been out for about 6 days. By day 7 or day 8, this will be ready to harvest. All you do at that stage is you take a pair of scissors, you bunch the microgreens together, and you just cut it from the bottom and start to collect it. And that's how you take care of your trays. And that's all really. For more information, check out the description below. Thank you for your time, and all the best with microgreen farming.